All right. So this is exciting. I have two special guests here today that are in town for a very special meet and greet, Comic-Con style, tomorrow down at Rogers Auction and Flea Market. I've got Julie McCullough.
Hello.
And I've got Scotty Schwartz.
Hello.
I'm going to let you both, because you have such a huge resume, I'm going to let you tell everybody where they've seen you, because everybody knows who you both are.
You haven't seen this everywhere.
The back of a milk carton.
Everywhere.
Yeah, the back of a milk carton.
Yeah.
Not yet.
America's Most Wanted. You know.
But you've been in some a lot of sitcoms. List them. They're a lot.
It's been on Who's the Boss, Growing Pains, which most people know me from that. Golden Girls, a lot of people know me from Golden Girls. Drew Carey Show. I've done so many comedies mostly, and I do stand-up comedy. I was even in more recent years in the Sharknado movies. I got eaten by a shark coming out of a tornado because it could happen. And now I mostly do faith and family films based out of West Virginia. And I've been doing a whole series of movies with Dean Cain for the last few years. Well, some of them are out, some of them are coming out. All super low budget, very hallmarky. Some are true stories, some are not. But that's it. I was on the Golden Girls and I became a Golden Girl. So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
And you look nothing like B. Arthur, thank God. So,
you know, I don't know how I got the same age as old people, but it just happens.
It does go fast. That's where I met you, actually, on a movie set.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was you. I was sitting at a table, and you just came over and sat down and just started talking to me.
Yeah, that's how we actually met.
And I didn't have a clue, and we're sitting there talking about the lunch or who's catering it. I don't know what the heck we were talking about, and we were talking about my daughter, and you were asking a lot of questions. Whom you finally met today.
I got
Sophia, who loves you.
Adorable.
You've been talking to her for a couple of years now on the phone, and that was the film with Dean Cain.
Yes.
So what is it like working with Dean?
I like Dean. Dean's so nice. He's so pleasant, and he should be a politician because everybody likes him, right?
absolutely.
He's just such a likable human being. He's the perfect Superman.
Yeah,
because he is a Superman. He really is. As a human being, he's a good dude.
that was the first time I'd met him, was on that set, and he was really kind to us.
Yeah, he's kind to everybody. Just a nice guy. Kind of like Scotty here. Scotty, I've known Scotty. We've known each other almost all of our adult life.
Pretty much.
Yeah, really.
I think I was 19, and that was years ago. And it was a few days ago.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But everybody knows you from, of course, one of my favorite films, The Toy, with
Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason and Ned Beatty. And
we were talking on the way here. That's like royalty and double royalty. I mean, Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason. That's amazing.
oh, it's, Mount Rushmore of comedy and television. I mean, he goes back to, the Jackie Gleason show, and he's all the way, big band leader in the 50s and 60s, and then the Honeymooners, and my favorite, Smokey and the Bandit and the Hustler. But no, I was very lucky to be put in that position. But I'm one of those people, I believe in fate, destiny, and everything happens for a reason. Now, you have to go 2 to 2.5 years before The Toy. And did you ever have to ride a bike to school?
No.
I did. Middle school, I had to ride my bike. And everybody on their Sony Walkman, for you young, you people, you don't know what that is. And everybody had cassettes, no CDs yet. We had cassettes, and everybody had AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, whoever it was, Journey, whatever. And I recorded movies on cassette by my television, and I had 5 movies. I had Airplane, Young Frankenstein, Smokey and the Bandit, History of the World Part 1, and Blazing Saddles. But I had Airplane and Smokey and the Bandit as two of the things that I listened to. When I did my screen test for The Toy, Pryor was supposed to be there and couldn't show up. He was stuck in Atlanta, divorce number 5. And they go, well, we're going to have you read with another black actor. Okay, fine. And the guy came up and he knocked on my trailer. He's like, hey, let's walk around. We'll get some camaraderie. Okay, fine. And I'm like, you look familiar. He's like, oh, I did a Love Boat. I did a Fantasy Island. I'm like, no, that's not it. Not it. He said, well, I did movie. It's a comedy, but I don't know if you're old enough to see it. I said, what movie was it? Airplane. He's one of the two. He's the drive guy in the aisle seat.
Yes.
Well, I lost it because I knew all of it because this is what I listened to. So I do, Bud Layman to the Bones, checking me up, tight me. And he's like, excuse me? And then I did it all for him. Well, he turned around and told the director and the producer, Richard Donner and Ray Stark, if you want a kid who really can hang with Pryor, that's your guy. And so part of my screen test, Richard Donner actually said, do it in jive. So I did it, we just riffed. We just did stuff.
That's amazing.
And it showed that I could bounce like that. And then they pulled me aside and they said, well, what do you know about Jackie Gleason? The Lock of the Millennium. It was like I started doing Buford T. Justice. And they're like, oh, okay. And then, of course, I got it. And the rest is history. You know?
Yeah. You were fantastic in it, actually. And you also
Richard Pryor. I take 10% of the credit. I almost got fired first day because they did ad-libbing. They all ad-lib, which means you make up dialogue.
Yeah.
As you go along. I didn't do that. I was on Broadway. I did off-Broadway. I did commercials. It's all dialogue driven. What it says on the paper is what you say. And Gleason threw me off. And I failed. Miserably, I failed. And they almost fired me that night. The producer took me back to the hotel, the other producer, and called my dad and said, your kid doesn't know his lines. My dad's like, you're kidding, right? He knows the entire script backwards and forwards. It's impossible. And then we kind of talked about it. Okay. And then they told Richard what happened. And Richard called me. I ended up spending half the night at his hotel room, just BSing, just chit-chatting away. And he sort of went, well, okay, what are we doing? I said, well, we're having a conversation. He goes, that's exactly what we do. He goes, tomorrow you're not working. You're going to come to set. You're going to sit with the sound mixer and listen, and you're going to see what we do. I said, okay. And that's what I did. And the following day, it was all me and Richard. And from there on, I was fine. But it was Richard who really took me under his wing and taught me everything, But thank you, though. I did a good job. I mean,
You did a great job.
Thank you. I mean, the other two films that I did back to back was the third one was Christmas Story, which I have very few lines in, really. But the infamous scene, the tongue in the flagpole.
Yeah.
It only says in the script.
Amazing.
But it only says in the script, flick sticks tongue to pole. That's all it says. That's not dialogue. That was just, screen action. And I said to the director, what do you want me to do? He goes, you work with Richard Pryor, man. You just go ahead. Do what comes natural. If I don't like it, I'll tell you. I said, okay. And what you see on the screen, all that stuff, the stuck, come back, don't leave me. All that was just me making it up and riffing. That's exactly what I did. The film before that is the one I'm most proud of. It was called Kidco. And it's about a brother and three sisters. They, their parents have a horse farm and they take the manure and hay and oats and mix it up and make fertilizer. It's based on a true story. And I'm in 98% of the film. And that's the one that I'm most proud of for the work that I did. The director, he had done Gettysburg, The Nights the Lights Went Out in Georgia with Christy McNichol and other things, And I took, as they say in showbiz, I took the football, meaning I basically took control of the set second day of shooting. And I didn't give it up. And I didn't fumble the ball. And I didn't talk to Ron for years. And then finally we reconnected, social media, Facebook, whatever. And he told me, he's like, do you know all the people that I've worked with that could be in like the Hall of Fame of actors and all that? He goes, I've never let an actor do what you did. He goes, but you were 14 years old. You grabbed it and you just went and you didn't stop. He goes, every day I knew you were going to come to work tired or you didn't know your lines or something. He goes, and you didn't do it for 8.5 weeks. And I was shooting 14, 16, 18-hour days. I was a professional and it all
Was that
worked.
the film before The Toy?
No, the first movie was The Toy.
Okay, so
and then I did Kidco, and then I did Christmas Story.
Yeah.
I mean, so when Bob Clark books me for Christmas Story, I never read anything. He had seen The Toy in the theaters. He knew I could do anything. So it was like, nice to meet you. We chit-chatted and had a hot dog in New York. I said, you want me to read anything? No, you can do anything. Okay, fine. Okay. Went up to my agent's office. I'd already gotten the movie. They send me a script. now I'm the lead in the toy. I'm the lead in Kidco. Of course, I'm the lead in Christmas Story. I'm Ralphie. So I learned the whole script. For 4.5 weeks, I'm studying Ralphie. We get to the read through. They fly me up Toronto. Okay, fine. We're all sitting there, and Bob's all excited, the director, and he's okay. You know, Peter, you're Ralphie, and Zach, you're Scott Farkas, and Scott, you're Flick. And I go, what? So I start, and I'm sitting there, I'm flipping through the script, and we all had Post-it notes and things for, you know, notes you want to write down or whatever. And I counted the 16 lines. I'm going to be there 5 weeks. I have 16 lines in the script. So I wrote 16 lines, 5 weeks equals vacation. I handed it to my father, and he's like, and I asked Bob, I'm like, Bob, are you sure of this? He goes, oh, yeah, you're going to be great. It's not the size of the role, but what you make out of it. And who knew?
That's amazing. And hadn't Richard, had he not mentored you?
Oh, it was a master class in comedy.
Would you have still gotten that part, do you think, if he had not mentored you?
Which part?
For Kidco.
For the toy you're talking about.
No, I know what he means.
Do you think that mentoring?
I probably still would have, you know, but I don't know if my performance in the toy would have been as strong as it was without Richard, you know. But it was the comedy stuff.
Confidence builder.
Oh,
that probably
you're learning every day.
Yeah.
You know, I asked questions. I was very studious. I loved old Hollywood. I loved old film. I loved comedy. And Richard, he wanted to teach. You know, this is after he burned himself up and all that stuff. Yeah. And he wanted to teach. And I didn't know he wanted to teach, and I didn't know I wanted to be the student. All I knew was I asked questions.
Yeah.
And so he really took me under his wing, and just everything that you can imagine. You know, the little things that most actors don't learn for a while is, if you can see the camera can see you. So people will line up. It's like me sitting like this. Okay. Well, of course, nobody can see me because I'm behind a mic. But if I do this, well, now everybody can see me. You know, the littlest things, you know, just things that you learn, timing, taking a breath, you know, playing the moment as it comes, you know, think just boatloads of it. And life lessons, you know. He said to me, ask me anything you want. There is not a thing you can do in your entire life I haven't done already. You got a question? Call me. And I had all of his phone numbers. I mean, you know, so when we left the set, he was home for about 3 weeks and then went to London to shoot Superman 3. And then, you know, he told me, I'm shooting from this time to this time, whatever. So when I get back to California or Hawaii, just call one of the numbers and you'll find me, you know. And, you know, we pretty much stayed in touch most of the time. There's a little time when his production company closed. He sold the house in LA, and he sold the house in Hawaii. You know, cell phones back then.
Yeah.
So it's like, if those numbers are disconnected, that's the end of it, you know? And then it took me a couple months, and then I found him, and we never separated after that. You know, you could not, I could not have found a better teacher. But no, it's like I have, you know, my stuff is non-PC because that's what I learned. My mentor taught me extremely well, you know, how to be not a joke teller, but a storyteller, you know?
Yeah.
And by far the most important person, you know, my life, career-wise, comedy-wise. I worked at the Comedy Store and got up on stage with him. He dragged me up on stage one night. And I know I say this and everybody goes, yeah, but it is real. It was the first two on the stage in front of us were Sam Kinison and Robin Williams.
Wow. They
went for a while. Sam handed the mic to Richard. Richard got up. They did 20, 25 minutes. Robin turned around and hands me the mic, and I go, what do you want me to do? Now, I had done a little.
How old were you at this point?
20 at this point, 20 going on 21. And I said, what do you want me to do? And Robin's like, that's your boy. Go get him. I'm like, Rob, he goes, go get him. Okay. So I went up, and then Richard says, oh, you want some of this? I can't even say the joke on the radio. You know, I can't say it on here, but I mean, he just started digging into me, and it's a rip roaring riot, and people are cracking up, whatever. And I didn't say a word. And finally, he's like, "You gonna say anything?" I said, "Yeah, well, you know, shut up. I'll say something." You know, he's like, he gave me the stage. So I start telling stories about Richard on the set, and he's talking about women and girls and drugs and this and that. And people are dying. They think this is a bit, and I'm like, "No, this is what happened. This is real." You know, and so I mean, I got to be on stage with 3 monstrous names. Got done. We go in the back. Sam gives me a hug and says, "Dude, that was great, man. That was fun." Robin Williams took both of his hands, just smacked me on the cheek, kissed me on the forehead. He said, "I knew you could do it." And Richard's, come here. He grabs me, gives me a kiss on the cheek, you know, and he's like, "It's true. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You're the white son I never had."
Aww.
And there's not a higher compliment I ever could have gotten in my entire life.
That's
or
amazing,
I will.
Yeah.
I could win an Academy Award, and I would still get on that stage, standing there with the gold Oscar going, "I'm the white son Richard never had." There you go.
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean,
What an honor.
I've been very lucky and fortunate to just work with some just really good, amazing people. Liza Minnelli and Robert Klein, and, you know, I even say Frank Stallone, because the man can play 7 instruments and sings, and he's been a, you know, Grammy nominee, and he's my friend. And, you know, I've had a blast, man. And I'll share stories if people come out, they come over to the show, you know, at Rogers, and, you know, I'll talk to them.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Matter of fact, you're at Rogers. If you're seeing this with enough time, it's tomorrow is 4th of July. You're at Rogers from 11 to 7. Both of you are Comic-Con style. You know, you come up, do autographs, right?
Mhm.
Selfies, and you'll have some things for sale, some pictures and
Oh, pictures and posters and fun and pops and other people's signatures and all kinds of fun, crazy stuff. So,
yeah. And Julie, you and I have talked many, many times, right?
Yes.
And I know some stories which I'm not going to repeat. We'll keep them private. What's your favorite story?
My favorite story.
Yeah. What's your favorite story?
I don't know.
Like a past celebrity, your favorite experience. I know one you told me with B. Arthur. Are there any others like that?
Oh, well, I had one with Betty White where when I was acting, when you're young, you're not really making that much money. So you have a second job. My second job, a lot of people were waiters or waitresses. I can never be a waiter or waitress. I'm so clumsy and ungraceful. I'd have dropped drinks in front of everybody. I could never do it. But I took a job as an apartment manager. And so I was an apartment manager, and I had a lot of elderly women in my building, and one of them took a fall early in the morning, and I had to take her to the hospital. So she got to the phone, called me, took her down to the hospital, had her blood all over me. She was okay in the long run. She was good, but took her to the hospital, and then realized I'm covered in blood. So I ran home, changed clothes. This is my first day of working on the Golden Girls, my very first day. So I arrive and I'm running. Where you have to park when you're a guest on the show is a couple football fields away. So I'm running across the parking lot. I get in there, and the first day is a table read where everybody sits around a table like this and they start reading the parts. Fortunately, it had not started yet, but it was about to. Everybody was seated and ready to go. And I walked in, and it was crickets when I walked in. And I was like, I'm sorry I'm late. Because everybody's just like sitting there looking at me. And then crickets. So I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get fired my first day. And then Betty White looks up at me and she says, "Why, Mary, you're pregnant. So of course you're late." My character was pregnant. And everybody busted up laughing. And it was like, it just broke the whole tension in the room. Everybody was laughing. And it was like I got anointed by the comedy queen. And so then someone does this and, taps on a chair for me to sit. Got in and went right into the part. And, no one ever asked me why I was those moments late coming in. but it was just kind of funny. I thought it was hilarious, but for me, that was crowning me, if that makes any sense. And then B. Arthur, because I had been in Playboy, knew that I was all in the press. And she's like, "Oh, so you're all in the press, I see." And I'm like, "Yes." And she goes, "F them." Well, I'm not going to say what you really said, but F them. She goes, you're gonna appreciate those photos when you're older." She said, and she's so right, because now I'm older. I'm like, I have just sort of this kind of iconic, feel about those photos, and I'm proud of it. People, I think, sometimes want to shame you for stuff you did in your past. I'm not ashamed of anything I did in my past. Right. It was my choice. I did it. I'm happy I did it. Now, not everybody agrees with it, but it's part of my life, and it's kind of who I am now. I'm a stand-up comedian. I make fun of the fact that I had been a bunny and a playmate, and I'm known as the funny bunny. And I just basically joke about it, and that's it.
And people still bring you the covers and the Playboys to sign at the
2 American covers, several covers around the world from all different countries. I'm not even sure which countries. Every now and then I'll have somebody bring up a foreign issue for me to sign the cover of. And then I never did it again. So I was in a pictorial in there a couple of times, but those were old photos.
Oh, they just use them and use them and use them, of course.
Use them over and over. And I just moved forward, and I was just working as an actor and an actress. And then I just got lucky that I just kept getting the work. And I'd get odd jobs, like I got booked on Harry and the Hendersons TV show to play a Swedish girl. And I was up against real Swedish girls, but most of them kind of had brown hair or dirty blonde kind of hair. And I came in as the blonde, and they cast me. And I'm thinking, how they cast me over real Swedish girls? And it's because you look what image is in our head of what a Swedish girl would look like, which I always thought was funny. But they wrote Swedish words in the dialogue, and then none of the writers knew what it meant. I was like, "You mean you don't know how to say it?" He said, "No, well, we just looked it up, and wrote it." So I called IKEA, because I didn't actually, at the time, I didn't know anybody Swedish at the moment. So called IKEA. I got the manager of IKEA on the phone, and I spelled it out for him, and he told me how to say it. I learned out my Swedish dialogue from the manager of IKEA in Burbank, California. And thank goodness he was laughing as I'm spelling.
Did you tell him who you were?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I told him, I said, "Look, I don't know anybody Swedish, and you're a Swedish store, so I thought maybe you might know how to say this." And it was just hilarious. So Kolsoppa med frikadeller, by the way, means cabbage soup. You want some cabbage soup? I learned that. Hey, it's just like hey in the US. Hey,
you're making Scotty hungry. He hasn't eaten in like 2 days.
No, I'm good.
I'm good. Or slept.
I slept. I'm good.
So we need to wrap up. So tomorrow, Rogers, 11 to 7. And
Rogers actually
auction and flea market house.
Well, you guys are 11 to 7. 7 a.m. for the flea market.
So they can come shopping at the flea market starting at 7 a.m. because they're going to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed coming out shopping. Then they can come over and buy autographed pictures from us, and we've got a whole bunch of different memorabilia.
Whole bunch of merchandise. Good fun merchandise.
Yep. And we'll be hanging out there. We're good for the chit-chat, obviously.
Yeah, and they sold out of all their vendor slots a couple days ago, over 1,200, and
they're celebrating 70 years,
70th year, and they're also now into the overflow with the vendors, so they're packing it in. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow.
It's going to be a phenomenal
Let's hope. Yeah. We hope so. We can't wait to see everybody.
4th of July, which doesn't happen that often on
and
a
their
Friday.
Fireworks are amazing.
That's what I've been
they're known for their fireworks.
I'm looking forward.
All the stars are aligning on this Friday, but also it's the launch of the new outdoor venue. It's called the Backyard Live. Yes. And they have headliner CJ Solar, who wrote Morgan Wallen's breakout hit. He writes and performs with Jason Aldean and Jared Neiman and Hardy and all those guys. So it's going to be an interesting night. It's going to be exciting and then fun.
For the fireworks, it's 4th of July, so please come out and join us, hang out with us.
50 acres of parking. It's easy to get in, easy to get out. I mean, it's bring a blanket, you can come into the venue.
Can we just stand
Beautiful.
at the gate and ask every single
Absolutely.
person that comes in, hey, can you give me $1?
Yeah.
Hey, can you give me $1? Just $1.
Yeah.
$1 from every person that walks in.
Yep.
Can they do that?
Yeah.
Can we just do that?
I don't see why not.
We can meet and greet, right? That'd be a good meet and greet, right?
Yes.
Just
Do we have that cleared?
well, we'll just hold the gates, hold the gate.
We'll see everybody tomorrow at Rogers.